Hi everyone, it's Caroline here again. How are my Rainbow Warrior women? I hope you got a chance to have a little listen to the last two talks that I did last weekend. The first one was on the introduction to the course and the content, I suppose, and then the second one was on the Sunday, which was the structure. And I went through the different stages and steps that we'll be going through in this quest for self-discovery. And I'm so thrilled that there's been so many lovely women come together in this space, and it's something new, and we'll see where it goes. But I mean, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to come together and to really learn from each other. So I'm hoping to, maybe get a collaboration with people that are within the group to maybe do some talks, and because I know there's a wonderful amount of women that come from all different walks of life, and could make a fantastic contribution to the community that we're building. So going forward, I'll be outlining, maybe some ideas around that, and maybe asking some of you to come on and we'll have the chats together, and we can share, your perspective on the world and the work in the world, and we can all learn from each other, and that would be really wonderful. And so I'm very excited and thrilled that you've all joined, and if you feel that you've got any other friends that might be interested in this and these kind of teachings and this type of inquiry, I'd be more than thrilled to add them to the group. Because we really all learn from each other and we support each other. And it's fantastic to have a feeling that of connection with people that are like-minded, that are interested in inquiry and self-growth and self-knowledge and self-awareness, because it can be a lonely journey when you're doing it on your own, but you have the support of people around you. And everybody has a unique perspective on life, and we can all bring our viewpoints and our learning to the group, which is, it makes it all the richer and much more of an interesting experience. So the talk today, I suppose, is about the first stage, which is the retreat. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what that means, and maybe why you might be here, or why you might think that, why would that be important, or what does that mean, the retreat stage. So I suppose in one way I was going to call this retreat from the battle, because we are the Rainbow Warrior women, and sometimes like we've been talking about, this is a stage of self-discovery, and we're trying to build our inner strength and become more active in the world, and to live out our purpose. And that is, first there is a stages that we need to go through to get ourselves kind of ready for that. And this is what I called, the active contemplation. So to become actively contemplative in the world, we need to become more intimate with our essential person, which is the essential aspect of ourselves, our personal essence. And to do that, we need to retreat from the world. We need to create a space of self-discovery, a space, an open space, a space that we can start to have more communication with ourselves. And why do I call it the battle of grand? Life is difficult, life is challenging, life on one level appears to be always attacking us and coming at us, and one challenge after the other, and it can become overwhelming. And especially when we're bombarded nowadays with social media, with press, with all these opinions, all these, climate change, we've got COVID, we've got the vaccines, we've got, problems with the economy, we've got, relationship challenges, we have children, we have careers, we have aging, we have, the different stages within a woman, a female cycles. We have all of these aspects of our life which take our attention. So the retreat is to start to create a space in our daily lives that is just for ourselves. So it's to start to take time either throughout the day in little pockets, or maybe in the morning or in the evening, where we start to give ourselves some time for time to ourselves that isn't to do with our roles in the world. Because we have many roles, and we have, we can be a mother, we could be a wife, we could be a girlfriend, we could be a sister, a daughter, an employee, many roles. But these are not what is essential. So we're trying to get to the essential personal, so back to our essence. So a lot of us, I suppose, when we're growing up, we don't get taught this, and it isn't something that is valued really, and it isn't something that we are trained to connect with, but it is vital. And this is where our vital energy source that we can access is present. So, I suppose for myself, it took on, I had a certain amount. I suppose I always had taken that space for myself, but I would maybe have taken it on a Saturday, where I always had to kind of a quiet time on a Saturday. And I always craved alone time. And I couldn't really function without having that, even as a child. I always took myself off to walk in the fields, or even as, even when I was playing with my friends or whatever. I had a great time. I loved kids. I loved playing. I wasn't, a child who had problems in that way. And I loved my family and, everything like that. But I always needed that little time to myself away and on my own in nature. And that's where I really felt at peace and ease. And I felt connected to a larger sense of myself. I felt a oneness with life. And I think I had a beautiful relationship with that. And that was really my home. That was really where I felt was where I rested, whereas I was at ease, where there was no responsibilities, and there was no expectations, and there was no judgment, and there was just pure connection. And I didn't feel different to the nature that was around me. I felt I was an aspect of that. And I felt there was great intelligence in that, and great safety in that, and great creativity in it, and protection. And I just felt that was just a beautiful kind of, you could say, sacred kind of space that I had. But then you look at it now, and I can kind of put those words on it maybe. But I didn't really think of that at the time. And I suppose that was the kind of a space of contemplation that I had fostered, all along my life. And I tried to hold on to when I was even, in a career when I look back now in retrospect, I can see it was present there all along. So I suppose when I got to a certain stage in my life, when I got 40, I decided that I just got kind of interested in um, deepening that. It was like as if life asked me, and I've explained, to kind of go into more academic and teaching and learning. But then once that phase had passed, I had a cry for simplicity. And it took its shape when like I'm trying to explain to yourselves, that to simplify our life is an aspect of retreat. And it's a way of pulling ourselves back. So like the latest book that I have is the Rainbow Warrior Wonder Journey, and it talks about the patterns that are within life, and the patterns in nature and the patterns in design and the patterns within our own psyche. It's a matrix of when I talked about the core beauty, which is kind of love and logic. And within, the fabric of our existence, these patterns arise, and it's multidimensional. And we are multi-dimensional beings. So to retreat from the battle of life is to start to reflect and try to understand the deeper meaning behind life, and to start to think of and inquire into our own personal truth and our own purpose in the world in this time. And it was a really exciting time, because it is a purposeful time, and we are here all to do a certain specific job, and we have a specific role to play. And it's really important to start to try and find out what that is, because it's essential in the larger scheme of things. So, with I'll do my best to try and bring you along the steps and the teachings that I have, and hopefully, you will start to, maybe be inspired by it, or you can, try and practice what I'm talking about, or even contemplating what I'm talking about, and maybe it might ignite something in you, that might bring you closer to yourself. And within the book, I have this particular spark. I suppose it is a good way of teaching, what retreat is on a visual level. So, say normally, like this is our essential person. This is most of the time we're out here, we're out around here, where all the different aspects of ourselves, of our being, is outside itself, and our attention is outside of ourselves, and we are and that's why we find things difficult sometimes, because we end up being overwhelmed, and our energy gets depleted, because it's all either coming in from outside of ourselves or going out, and it's not actually contained within this center point, within that home, within our source, within our truth, within ourselves, within the kind of connected to the source of life itself. So the retreat is to come back into this space here, and it takes a while to pull in, all these strands from the exterior into the interior, and because there's an external aspect and there's an internal aspect to that. So the more we pull ourselves in from the exterior world, the more when we find ourselves at ease in our own center, we will have more energy, because we're actually we're getting our energy from the source of all energy, and it's an energy system, and it's in through the body, and if you're interested in science and quantum physics, and we know that if the electrons are coming in, and that's what the sun is a great symbol of that, because that's where we're getting energy from light, from the heat, the warmth, the radiation that's coming from it. So it's like we are coming back to the source of ourselves, and we're becoming, and then as we strengthen ourselves within here, we start to be able to radiate from this place. We become like the sun as such. But we're very much at home in ourselves. So we're not being depleted. Our energy is constant. And there's no dipping. I think this is one of the major problems and the major challenges for women and for people in general is energy management. You notice a lot of people kind of go up and down in their energy. So like you're going through your life and you might have a peak of energy in the day and then it goes down. And a peak of energy and goes down, it's up and down like this. And really that's kind of you're losing energy in certain areas. And which actually it shouldn't be. It should be constant and it should be a constant flow of energy that's coming into it and it's present there all the time. So the work is to actually fill those holes and gaps so that you can, because it would be impossible for you to take on, an active role in life if your energy level, your core energy level is being depleted, like a battery, being around a battery being charged down. And, people generally think that their energy comes from food, and it comes from exercise, it comes from outside of them, which actually is true on one level, definitely. We need to look after our bodies. We need to take in the right nutrition. We need to really, I suppose, become conscious of what we're putting into our bodies and respect our bodies as a vessel. And then we need to exercise and give ourselves, energy and make our bodies move. And, that gives us a vital and a kind of a bodies are stronger feeling, and we have less sickness. So then that's not taking our energy. But our vital energy comes from a different and a deeper place. It's from their inner connection with life itself. And this is where I like to inquire into and teach around. And there's a mechanics behind that. So the first thing we're doing in retreat is we're creating that space. So whether you want to get up, like what I started to do is I got up earlier. It sounds crazy now, but when the kids were small, I had no time. I was very rush, get up in the morning and we're all getting crazy, getting ready for school and then ready for work. And then I was always I felt I was kind of always trying to catch up with myself, where I reversed it, where I would get up early and I would kind of ground myself in a state of mind that I wanted to continue the day in. And I would get very organized around that in the morning. So I would kind of prepare myself the night before for the morning that I wanted to have. And I give myself a half an hour in the morning. And I'd have kind of, the day kind of started on a hot kind of flow, we'd say. So I'd sit with a cup of tea in the morning and just, kind of arrive into the day in a nice way. And now I didn't meditate because I didn't know anything about meditation, but it was actually creating that calm. So that's, for me, I don't call it meditation. I suppose I call it stillness. Just stilling myself, coming home to myself, coming home from, all the worries, just opening that space. opening a space of calmness, an opening space of calm and contemplative action for the day. So that's a starting point. You can take if you can't do it in the morning, take it in during the day or in the evening time, just to start to really, switch off phones, switch off TVs, switch off anything exterior, and to start to just sit in quietness. And this from the Fair Republic, I thought I'd marked out a couple of poems that I thought might illustrate that movement. And this one is called Outer to Inner Movement. Running, jumping, ducking, diving, splashing, pushing, dragging, lifting, holding, tension. Sitting, still, motionless. Arriving, landing, connecting, inviting, trusting, receiving, feeling, breathing, surrendering, letting go, and disappearing. And that's that creating that space, from the outer to the inner. It's pulling yourself back in from that exterior world into the interior, and there's the active doing of everything, that busyness. And then to sit and still and motionless and not moving, and to start to arrive and to land, to connect with yourself, and inviting newness into your life, inviting new, clear thoughts into your mind. And it's not that you have to stop thinking, because your mind never stops. It's the quality of what happens in the interior is important. And especially for us in the West, we have very active minds. And it's difficult for us to take on a challenge of stilling the mind and keeping it very quiet. And I feel it's actually important to understand that our mind is always going to be talking to us, but it's to become more discerning around what is it saying and what to believe, what not to believe, what's a new thought and what's an old thought, what's a shadow thought, what's a conditioned thought, and what's actually inspiration, and what's coming from a higher place that is coming from the future self, from maybe, mapping out the path that you have to take, the next step. Because really it's just the next step that you're always taking. But if you're actually always, the mind is consumed by old thoughts and conditioned thoughts and thoughts of the past and, difficult relationships and etc., you're not creating that space for newness to arrive. And, learning to breathe and connect with your breath is really a deep, close, intimate relationship with life, because really our breath is our connection to life. The minute we stop breathing, our life is finished here, So that's really getting back to simplicity, the simplicity of even just being contented in our breath, and to being grateful for the breath, and just to have that as our home as well, that feeling of being home, and that feeling of our own life force that's coming in and coming out of it, which actually we're not even on a deeper level, we don't even breathe. Like we're breathing us, we do nothing. We are actually just like a cell that's just breathing and letting go, and breathing and letting go. It's just like you're allowing, so you're surrendering to that, and then you're letting go of, old thoughts, old beliefs, old toxic, difficult, difficult experiences, and we're disappearing into that oneness with a calm contentedness. And it mightn't happen. There's a process in that, because especially if we've had some trauma in our early childhood, we are storing those memories within our body. So a lot of emotion, and especially in different cultures, we have different cultural conditions. And within our culture, I suppose there's been an awful lot of suppression and oppression that has come through the generations. And you inherit that from your parents, your parents' pattern. Your family has its own pattern as well. It's just in pattern behaviors. And, when we sit and we start to, question life and retreat from our automatic way of behaving in life, an automatic way of speaking, an automatic way of acting in life, and we start to create that space of calmness, we start to look at those aspects and those patterns within our family and within ourselves. So first of all, to create that space and to start to connect with the breath, and to start to create an open space for calmness to arise in us. And when we do that, then we're inviting in something new. We're starting to, and that is like, it's a process, of opening, of an opening into a calmer place, into a fresher place, like opening a window. And you open a window in a place called stale air, and you're running around, and people are not the oxygen. Oxygen is kind of used up in the room because all the doors were closed and it was really hot and stuffy, and a lot of people talking, a lot of opinions and emotions and flying right and left. And when you open a window, what happens? There's fresh air coming in, but there's also old air going out, old stale air that's being let go of. So when we're sitting, we're letting go of that, and it takes time to let go of that, and then the new air and the old air is kind of mixed for a while until we can really clear out the windows, clear out the room, freshen it up. So really what we're doing in our retreat, we're coming into that. We're just acknowledging that is something that we are starting to do, and we're looking at what is, as myself, it was a question of, I was very interested, kind of like a scientist maybe, to see what is essential about a human being. What are the essential aspects? What is really, what do we really need? Do we need all this stuff? Do we need all these trappings, online? Do we need the house? Do we need the car? Do we need the education? Do we need to have the PhD or degree, or, to make ourselves feel good? Do we need to have the plastic surgery? We need to have the cars, or the perfect husband, or the perfect children, or do we need all that? Was that, because I think at this stage in our lives, we understand that doesn't give us, a richness, that doesn't give us a stability, a sustainable life, affirming, foundation to live our lives on. No, it doesn't. And I suppose anyone who feels it does isn't really ready for this conversation, isn't really ready for, to go on this path of self-discovery, because they're still, finding that out. But if you're at the stage where you realize that, then this is where you should be, because none of that really has a lasting, it doesn't sustain you. It doesn't give you, because you're attached to it. you're attached to it on the outside of yourself. And anything that you're attached to on the outside of yourself is actually an identity that you've created, which you live from. And when that identity is taken away from you, you are completely diminished. And that's when you see your energies depleted. And that can be attacked on a level when you have a conversation with somebody and they say something, and it might trigger an identity crisis for a second, and then your body, your energy goes down. So when you're coming back to yourself in retreat, you're really coming back to, getting back to a sustainable foundation within yourself, and eventually you become extremely solid in that, and that you have no attachment from the outside of you. You're like a tree, you're like an oak tree that just won't, all the wind and rain, everything, and the weather and the cycles of life come, and it just still stands solid and strong in its foundation. And that's the class of discovery. And I suppose when we look to see, it's like a paring back. It's a minusing instead of a plusing. If it was a sum, I suppose a lot of the time, in different aspects and stages of our life, we plus, we're plussing on. We want to have a house, we want to have kids, we want to have a husband, we want to have X, Y, and Z. And the more we have, we feel the more successful we are, and the more happy we'll be, and the more contented we'll be, and the more, we seem to be kind of rushing off to find this place where you'll be better than other people, or will be seen to be more intelligent, or will be seen to be more successful, popular, or whatever it is. There's different attachments to different kind of identities, and as we go through life, but really all of that disappears. Even when we're famous people, the mega stars in Hollywood, have massive problems with their relationships, or with their drug abuse, or they're locked away behind closed doors with they can't have access to the world. So there's challenges in all different aspects, but that really, if you don't have a foundation within yourself, that none of that you can really enjoy. And I suppose this kind of path of self-discovery is hoping to kind of get you really strong within yourself, that you can have strong, healthy relationships, and the right relationships with the right person that's meant to enrich your life. And it's not going to deplete your life. You're going to have a strong connection with your family on a level that is supporting them and supporting you in a healthy way, and it's going to stop the patterns of unhealthy patterns that have been present within your family tree for generations. That you will be the one who will actually stop that and start to create kind of a healthy attitude towards life and towards other people, and towards to clean out and clear out and open the window and freshen up that within your own life. And then you'll start to act in the world where you have more confidence, and you have more openness to looking and seeing where your purpose is, and having the confidence in yourself to move forward and to take action, and to get maybe re-educated, or to maybe to address health problems or weight problems, or maybe relationship problems, or to be able to focus and to start and to kind of not to avoid these aspects of their life, not to run away from challenges, and not to, I suppose, get lost in just distraction all the time, So, there's the distraction of life, the distractions that are all around us that are kind of not they're fine in balance, but if they take over, they become everything where we're just working and then we're distracted. We're not feeding ourselves, and we're not fully fulfilled in our life, and we're not living our true potential. So, I suppose to start to look to see what are the areas within your life that you can simplify. Can you simplify, how much you're taking in, how much, social media you're taking in, how much other people's opinions are taking in, how much, what are you taking into your system what are you taking into your system within your food? What are you taking in? What are the aspects of your life that are serving or not serving? And start to create, a little space of self-care is the first step, to start to bring in practices in. And then in the next video I'm going to make is I want to give you your weapons, the Rainbow Warrior women's weapons, and the warrior weapons, and they're going to be twofold. And in the next video, I'll explain to you the philosophy behind those, and how we can really train ourselves with these weapons, and how over constant repetition and a retraining of our inner psyche that we can definitely start to change, open our minds, and bring a new purpose to our life. We can start to see new opportunities, break down old limitations, and become much more sovereign in ourselves. It takes a commitment to this training, and it's a daily commitment. You'll definitely be maybe slow to start, and others I know that are people in this group that are very advanced. I mean, there's people in this group that are actually training wellness and teaching professionally and within their own practices. And there's leaders, there's people who are very active in the world. There's people who are just starting off in this path. But I think that, another voice and a different perspective and a way of explaining things with a different kind of language is always beneficial at whatever level that you're at. And it's interesting to listen to somebody else's, experience in their own life and their journey. And it kind of can inspire you, and it can give you, maybe it can give you more of a language to talk to yourself to and other people about, because the language of the inner world and the inner landscape is something that is new. It's really emerging now. Really the religions have only been the places where we've had those kind of languages before, which I suppose is something that we don't often connect with. We think it's a dogma. It is like, and on a surface level, religion is dogmatic. It's telling you, it's rules and regulations, and nobody wants that. The very deepest roots of all religions, at the core of it, is that person, that kind of, that truth, that the word, that, the teaching, and that has percolated through the generations, through centuries. But we need to come back. If you're interested in religion of different paths of truth within the wisdom traditions, we really need to go back to that. Like back to, I was calling it the fruit of the tree. Like the orange. If there was an orange, if that was an actual person, you need to go back to that orange. And, see and drink of that juice from that on, rather than, the centuries back, and you're listening to, um, you know, a teaching that came from somebody who is enlightened, and that an organization took on board and started to um, teach it from an unenlightened state of mind. So we need to kind of, now we're kind of becoming independent of having to listen to dogma. We have the chance to have an independent state of mind. So we need discernment in that. So we need to start to look and to inquire into our own wisdom tradition, maybe that we grew up with. If we did it all, if not, that's fine as well. There's many there that maybe the language and teachings speak to different people in different ways, and um, it, it's important to go back to that fruit of the tree and to just to take a drink from the juice, because over time it gets watered down and watered down and watered down, diluted, and it gets, chemicals are put into it and it becomes toxic. And that's what's happened um, in many ways, and especially in the Catholic religion. You know, we all know what's happened, but there is a truth to that as well. That is actually in agreement, with all the other traditions. So if we got down to, again, to the very truth of all wisdom traditions, since this very core of all the traditions, all the different wisdom traditions come down to this one truth. And that is what we need to be looking at, not so much the outer dogmatic, watered down, um, toxic version of it, and we have wonderful aspects of each tradition that are still present today. But it's to look and to see what's true and what's not true, or what works for us and resonates with us and what doesn't. And that's also on the path to self-discovery. There's a studying aspect to it, and there's a reading and an opening of our and re-education of ourselves. And I'll give you some books that are great to start to read, and we can suggest books to each other as well, and maybe talks and different. I suppose the different books that might have inspired you, or connected with you, or different people that you feel have connected on a level that is right for you at this moment in time. Because everybody, like I said, is on they're on different levels, and they're on different paths, and they're on different experiences, and I think it's a personal thing, and the personal essential that we're opening that space to connect with is beyond thought, and it's a felt thing. So you feel it on an energetic level. When you feel that there's a shift. When you've heard something new, I think sometimes there's a lot of the same kind of conversation that goes on over and over and over again. But then sometimes you hear somebody say something and it seems to shift you because it connects with you, and you know that it's something new. It's what we call eros. Eros is life force. It's newness. It's truth. And it connects here, and it excites us. And that's in sexuality as well. It's like creativity and sexuality and newness of life is all very life affirming. So you can start to feel it. You can start to feel it moving through your body. You start to feel, because this is where our life force is. That's in India, the chakras. It starts to move down to our hand up. there's a movement that goes on. But when you start to, like, creativity is eros, it's newness, it's you know, sexuality and creativity and the life force are, you know, us, like I said before, incarnating into a new version of ourselves. You know, so we're inviting, the retreat is actually retreating from the old battle and opening up a space for newness, for creativity, for spirituality, for life itself, to become present in our life. And that is what presence is. Presence is becoming present. So we're moving away from time, you know, we're coming into the time, we're collapsing into time. Actually, I have a poem on time, and that this is actually talks about this coming into presence and our relationship with time. I'll read it to you, and then maybe I'll talk about time. Time is so plentiful. It crashes on the cliffs, smashing into seconds and disappearing into hours. Time, to many, is so precious. It is contained in a glass, stared at and carefully sipped. Time poured lavishly into busyness, flashed, slurped, guzzled, but still a thirst. An internal drought, a dry hole in which liquid needs to pour from replenishment. Time to become time. Time to unite with it, to collapse into the equation of peace. Time to dissolve. That talks about our relationship with time, our busyness. You know, when we're young, our you know, we don't actually value our time when we're young sometimes. We feel we have all the time in the world, you know, and that we just throw it around and splash around and have great fun and then, you know, then when we get older, it's so precious and it's stared at, it's sort of how much time we've left. Time left. And maybe it's sickness, you know, it becomes so valuable. And then, you know, maybe in our middle ages, it's this lavish busyness, running around, splashing, you know, this kind of always having to be somewhere, being so busy, and you need to bring the kids there, you need to get to work, and it becomes, you know, it's guzzled, and then, you know, kind of just then this kind of intoxication of just, you know, Netflix and drinking, you know, like it's just kind of, there's no replenishment from that. There's no true replenishment from that. It's just a reaction from stress, you know. And then, you know, an internal drought. There's an internal drought. There's an internal dryness that you're not getting fulfilled from. And, you know, the only place we can become fulfilled from that is the collapsing of time and becoming one with time. Because when we become one with time, we become present, we become life. We are, that's, you know, the equation of peace is actually Einstein's equation for relativity. So, you know, the way I look at it is life is relative to your experience. I'm not so much interested in people's stories as such, in that is very important, but our perspective of life has to be higher than that. It has to be to understand that our access to life is like a portal. And his understanding, you know, that equation actually creates a portal for us to understand that our only access to life, to actually the force of life itself, to creativity, is in present time. And present time is only accessed through a training of the mind to still itself and to become one with it. And that is, you know, a lot of the time, like I talked about before, there's life and there's you. Life is always patient and kind and loving and present and calm. And you and your distance from life is how you how distant you are from yourself, because you and yourself are one with life. When we get to that stage where we can clear up all the thoughts and all the distraction and the movement and the exterior attachment to desires and to these aspects of our life that aren't continuous and that are that will come and go. But what's actually constant is that calmness, and when we take time to become present with that, that is building a, a, a portal, an opening for that to arise, and it can get larger and larger and larger and larger and larger the more we practice. So that is what retreat is about, and that is what I'm guiding you to. My words are just guides, hopefully that you connect with them and we can continue on the journey. So tomorrow I'm going to review the next video. I'm going to be releasing is our warrior weapons, and I'll explain the philosophy behind those weapons that I'll be giving you to practice within that space that we're creating. Okay, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're all keeping very well, and love to you all. Thank you for your time and your patience and your interest. Bye.